Racially charged videotape of two Seattle police officers stomping on an innocent detainee hits the airwaves right now. This all happened in the early morning hours near Lake Union.
Police are not talking, but KIRO 7 investigative reporter Chris Halsney joins us to reveal why internal affairs detectives have already launched a review.
Several weeks ago, Seattle police responded to some 911 calls of patrons being robbed in the parking lot of a nightclub along Westlake Avenue North. The suspects were Hispanic. Here, about 8 blocks away, a couple of guys who appeared to be Hispanic were strolling along the boardwalk. A freelance videographer captured what happened next. It's about 2 in the morning, and at least 6 squad cars full of Seattle police are trying to sort out suspects about a half-mile from a robbery scene. 3 men are being detained, but 2 of them appear to have nothing to do with the alleged crime. This member of the SPD gang unit is yelling at a young man lying face down on the ground. We can't hear what he's saying until the camera moves a little closer.
You got me? I will beat the Mexican piss out of you, homie. You feel me?
Now, watch what happens about 16 seconds after the officer threatens to beat the effing Mexican piss out of you, homie. As the uncuffed detainee goes to wipe his eye, he gets one violent kick to the head. Looking at it again, it's possible the officer was trying to stomp on the suspect's hand and instead skipped the toe of his boot off the guy's head. But either way, a recognized expert on police brutality who watched the videotape says it should never have happened.
I suppose I could speculate on some excuse, but looking at the actual facts as are recorded in the video, which is of course always the best evidence, I just don't see any excuse.
Former Bellevue Police Chief Don Van Blaricom has testified as a police practices expert in more than 1,500 cases.
Well, there's absolutely no excuse for stomping on somebody's head who's lying on a concrete surface. Absolutely no excuse for that whatsoever.
About 12 seconds after the gang unit officer did his stomping, this female officer walked over to do some stomping of her own. This time onto the back of the knee or calf of the same guy lying face down on the sidewalk. Once the officers realized they had the wrong guy, they helped him up, brushed him off, and let him go with a serious case of road rash from the concrete. He seemed a little dazed when the freelance photographer spoke with him afterwards.
So they kicked you in the head, man?
Yeah, they did.
Tell me why they kicked you in the head.
I don't know. They just kicked me in the head. They knocked me down and kicked me in the head.
And you had nothing to do with what was going on?
Nothing to do.
Oh, it's fresh. It's fresh. You can see the blood in his eyebrow.
While watching the videotape, Van Blaricom noticed the young man wasn't steady on his feet after getting up from a blow to the head. Audio tape confirms that the gang unit officers knew that, yet medical aid isn't apparent on the scene.
What I want you to do is relax your leg on the phone, okay? All right?
Finally, Van Blaricom says this lone officer's use of a racist comment is not only offensive, but could put the whole department in a bad light.
I will beat the Mexican piss out of you, homie. You feel me?
And if you have racial overtones to a police contact with a suspect, particularly to one who turns out to be totally innocent, that doesn't do anybody any favors. It's insulting to the individual who's called a racial epithet. It's insulting to the community or that culture, and people react against it.
The Seattle Police Department today released a 3-sentence statement, essentially saying it is aware of possible officer misconduct, and an internal review is underway. Reporting in Seattle, Chris Halsney, KIRO 7 Eyewitness News.